Well, not much can be said at this point. I'm pretty sure the whole country is a little bit depressed over what has actually transpired in this match. I don't think anybody had an. I mean, actually, no. A lot of people did have an expectation with the way day two went that things weren't looking so good on to day three. I was at the complete opposite. I had a lot of positivity. I thought that things could go a little bit into our favor, but unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But there's a lot that you can take away from this tour, because the fact is that it exposes a lot of different elements that are an issue within the men in green that they need to focus on. I mean, you look at it right now. The West Indies, and if you look at that scorecard and you look at the first innings, 163, right? But you look at where that 163 starts from. Look at the upper numbers there. Brathwaite getting about 9, Lewis getting about 4. Then you've got a duck completely, Sajid Khan taking Yango out of the mix. It's just the wickets just kept on doubling. None of the upper the upper batsmen or the ones at the higher up the order were able to get into double digits except for Hodge. But where did the real scores come from that was able to prevail through and push the West Indies to that 163, which was just a psychological bench strike to Pakistan? And that is when you look at the 4 of the wickets, because at this point you're at 38 for 7. Imagine being 38 for 7. 38 for 7, you are on day 1 in this test match and you're able to make a recovery. Brings back the stories of the first match at the Border Gavaskar Trophy, or those little knocks here and there with those Bumrah spells coming through that were able to help India through. But of course, what a story this is for the West Indies. 38 for 6 and then 38 for 7. 54 for 8, and I think it's at 54 for 8 you see the slight transition, right? Pushing that score to 95, then pushing that score to 163. It's the tail enders, and it's those tail enders that just come in and are able to just grab that match away from Pakistan. Why? Is it a sense of complacency, or a sense of that, okay, things become a little bit more simpler and straightforward as we get into the very end of this match, to say that, okay, you know what, we've got 8 wickets down, we've got 7 wickets down or 9 wickets down, and then this is the point where we feel as if that the match is completely in our grasp and we just let loose. We don't take advantage of the fact that it's in our grasp. A lot of stories come to mind even from the past history, which is not even from recent times, but can go previously into the last decade as well. When you talk about things like Saeed Ajmal getting hit for so many runs of Michael Hussey, where even when Saeed Ajmal was talking about that match after that match happened, he also said that the Pakistan team looked at it that the match was already won. But it has been so much of a repetitive formula with Pakistan that the match is won, but the match leaves the grasp at the very last moment, which is what irks the frustration in our fandom, in the people that support this cricket. And that's the problem, right? That's what needs to be worked on. And it's very interesting if you look at Sean Masood's interview after the match, and he's highlighting all these interesting aspects, and he's saying that, okay, you know what, fielding needs to be worked on, fitness needs to be worked on. At a point where he's going on to a break, there's not much you can expect him to say. At this point, it is a team situation. It is a team scenario. A leader does lead from the front, but a leader will only be able to lead well if he has a good team to work with, all right? He can pull off a quality performance, maybe be able to lead from the front, which is a very, very good mentality. And I believe that some of our experts, such as Rashid Latif, are talking about having that mentality. That's good. He should. But at the same time, the points that he's highlighting, letting the tail sneak through, that's a very key point over what's been going on in the matches against South Africa, in the matches against Australia. This one loss is not the reason why the country is where the people who are analyzing the game or talking about the game or discussing this are lashing out at the team. It's not. It's a little bit of a compounded scenario, because it doesn't only arise from what happened in the previous games, but what happened in not even in this match, in the match before this, there were signs that were showing that the batting was failing too, and there's not quality batting capable of delivering on these pitches, right? But you look at it, it's not just this. You look at what happened in South Africa. You look at what happened in Australia. You look at what happened against Bangladesh. Bangladesh, you completely start talking about flat tracks and how they went out of the way. But with Pakistan, it's very important to understand this, that if you adapt by certain formulas, if you say that I am going to live in a scenario where this is a certain formula that is not causing an issue, then I'm going to go for it. You know, that the if it ain't broken, don't fix it logic is flawed, in my opinion. It's always been flawed. Because if you look at it right now, those last two test matches that they've been able to play, the ones that they defeated England in, that was based upon a concept that was forming together with a particular thought process to say that, okay, let's work on these spinning tracks and where should we go with this. England is a team that's struggling right now in the subcontinent against India in the T20 series. It just showcases to you that it is not, I mean, you can talk about this formula, but all those teams are going to be mentally aware because they're coming to Pakistan to play the Champions Trophy. And we understand that red ball cricket is different than white ball cricket, but it's cricket is cricket. And at the end of the day, all teams will be considering having a strong spin attack going into that tournament because they understand how these pitches are playing out, because everyone is watching, everyone is preparing, everyone's been talking about this ICC tournament because it's the next big thing. So what's going to happen here, right? With Pakistan, it's just this thing that you cannot stick to a process and think that, okay, if you're winning a few games, it's always going to stay the same. That the normal course is just going to resume and it's just going to go on and on and on. Baseball has suffered significant blows in recent times, even though that was a mentality adopted by the English side. If you adopt these perspectives, these approaches, these strategies, these models, you have to understand that there is consistent updates necessary with different circumstances. It is not the formula that if it isn't broken, don't fix it. It is not the formula of saying that if a certain thing is just playing out the way it is and it's going right, let it just keep on flowing. No. You need to look at different scenarios. You need to look at different situations. You need to form a team according to the circumstances that you have. It was a good decision to go with a pace attack in South Africa. Granted, you had a terrible test series, but that's completely attributed to a lot of other reasons as well. But you need to understand that according to a scenario, things need to play out. You cannot neutralize your pace attack. You cannot find a situation where you're playing with batters who are not able to bat against quality spin. I'm not saying put on significantly high scores, but trying to put on a fight, trying to push through, trying to stabilize yourself on that pitch, trying to put in those extra runs. Better fitness, better fielding. You need 2 out of the 3. You need bowling and batting. You need batting and fielding. You need bowling and fielding. You need these approaches. If you don't do that, if you're not going to be able to enable that, you are causing problems for yourself as a team. And that's the thing that needs to be worked on. So there's a lot that needs to be looked into, and there's a lot of exploration that is going to go into the points. The men in green are who we stand behind. I still wear green as I support my great team. But there's a lot of things that need to be worked on because this is a sport that unites our country and will always be there behind them, right? But we need to see what we're going to do. And Shan Masood's highlighted some fantastic points that have been talked about, but it's way much more about going back to the drawing board. High time to think about quality batting and test cricket. And I'm not saying change the tracks, keep the tracks the way they are, or maybe try to alter them slightly a little bit to make them pace friendly, but keep them as bowling friendly as possible because your batting needs to be challenged. Let it be on your home grounds. No flat tracks. Your batting needs to be challenged so that it needs to be able to play in challenging scenarios, because when you're touring the globe, when you're going to the Centurion, when you're going to to Australia, when you're going to other places, when you're going to New Zealand, when you're going to England, you are being challenged in different situations where the ball is doing a lot, and you need to be able to bat in those scenarios. And the best way you can learn is by creating those pitches, and if challenging pitches, and even if it means losing a couple of matches back home, which is okay, it will not expose you, but it will give you an opportunity to challenge yourself and to be able to push through. Use that corner tiger mentality again. Bring it through. That when the force is pushed against you, when you're in a situation where you're exposed, that is when you have to prove your ability. That is when a champion is made. That is when the performance showcases itself. These are the testing moments. So prove it. Go for it. And there's still hope. I know we're going on a little bit of a delay here for about a couple of months before we really get back into things. But serious work needs to be done. And I think the departments have been highlighted, the formulas have been highlighted, what has to be looked into, that's been provided, but a lot needs to be worked on in this case. But yeah, see you guys. Have a great one, I guess. We'll talk about this again definitely soon.